What's going on, guys? Open Hand here, back with another build video. This time I figured I would go ahead and show you my healing version of my Paladin. And I guess with that said, let's just jump right into the skills here. I decided to kind of still take quite a bit of AoE in this because I think Vampiric Contract as a skill in general is just insane. So I decided to go with Touch of Despair with Radius Increased on it. If you're not familiar with what Radius Increased does, it will curse 2 additional targets. So every time you cast this, you will curse up to 3, and that just basically will make all your AoEs heal for much more. So I thought that was a little bit of a better route to go, since this is basically for any kind of content that you want to do in the game. Hitting multiple enemies with curses on them will heal you or your allies for quite a bit more. So I thought it was just a bit better to go than like a single target route. But as far as skills go here, I have Cruel Smite. Again, this is Valiant Brawl, basically upgraded to an AoE, where if you land a crit or a heavy attack, it will have some AoE properties. Touch of Despair, this is purely an activator in this build for Vampiric Contract. Now, if you're fighting a boss in a dungeon or something, you can very easily switch this out for Time for Punishment, and you would simply drop Radius Increase and pick up the duration on Time for Punishment, and that's, against boss is actually a bit better, and I do recommend that because if you're not familiar with it, Time for Punishment still acts as an activator, being a curse and everything, so you can still heal off anything that has this on them. So if you're fighting a boss, you can swap these, but again, at this moment, I don't feel like, the dungeon content is particularly hard. Maybe once Tier 2 comes out, it might be worth, the headache of switching this every time, but right now I just basically run in any dungeon with this, and I'm completely fine. But just, for the people that want to really min-max it, that's definitely an option. And Radius increases 5 points, and the increased duration on this is 5 points, so it's like a one for one trade, and you basically end up with still 0 specialization points remaining, so it works nicely like that. After that, I take Frostclaving for just the big AoE burst damage. It procs twice, so if you hit 3 enemies that have curses on them with this, you will heal in 6 different instances, which is quite good. And then I also take Stunning Blow, obviously used with Guillotine Blade 99% of the time. Just a really good combination of abilities here. And again, anything you have targeted, basically either you or an ally, and if you land like a heavy attack with Guillotine Blade, you're more than likely going to heal to full health. So it's just really interesting how big damage skills still contribute to being a good healer in the Paladin, which is kind of cool, I think. But then after that, Death Blow, just a really good single target damage skill, and again, does enough damage where Vampiric Contract really benefits from it as well. On the second row, I take Blessed Barrier. This is a really good ability. It basically increases the defense of you and your allies or whoever's standing in the circle. I take the target's expanded specialization, which makes it so it targets an area instead of just a single person. But it also increases the healing received while they're under this effect, which is really good. It does take into account your buff duration, so that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Here it would say like, what, 5 seconds, or I think it lasts for 6 seconds normally, but with the buff duration I have, it ends up being more like 8 or 9, so it's kind of nice. After that, I take Fountain of Life, obviously just a very good heal, and then Da Vinci's Courage with the instant healing specialization on it. I also take Invincible Wall, another really good ability. This is just a good ability because you can throw it out when you know your team's about to take a lot of damage, and sometimes you can save people and just mitigate a lot of headaches with this ability. And then after that, Clay's Salvation, just a really strong AoE heal. And then lastly, I take Swift Healing. And for my parry, I decided to take Iron Point Parry. I like this a little bit more than Chaotic Shield. But if you want to run Chaotic Shield, that's totally fine. This is just simply preference. Being able to stun people, and then again, this does an AoE attack, and if you're hitting cursed targets, you're going to be healing. This can heavy attack. Obviously I have this way more upgraded than I do Chaotic Shield, so I'm using this at the moment, and I do like it. For the passives, have Robust Constitution, which increases your max health. Have Vital Force, which increases your hit chance by a lot, your skill damage, and your stun chance. Now, this increases my hit chance by about 200. If you don't really care about that, I mean, I guess depending on what kind of content you're doing, you can swap this out for something like Indomitable Armor, which is a really good ability because, again, we are melee, so we're running into the thick of things, getting hit a lot. So having a lot more extra armor does help your survivability, but that's kind of up to you. But I really do like just the extra hit chance just to be safe. And then after that, I take Cold Warrior simply for the stunning blow into Gold Team Blade combo, so I can get just those really big burst heals. And then after that, Saint's Oath. This is a very good ability as well. Not a lot of healers can run this because most are ranged, but being a melee class, we're often taking advantage of the effect of this because we're taking damage quite a bit. It does say skill damage, which might be a little bit confusing to some people, but this seems to be any kind of damage that you take from enemies, out in the wild or any dungeon or anything like that. And the interesting thing too is like when you get a new stack of it, your previous stacks refresh. So I'll just run out here and I'll show you real quick what I'm talking about. And it also does take into account your buff duration, as far as I can tell. So that's pretty important with this ability to have a bit of buff duration. Right, let's see if I can get a couple more here. It's night too. But you'll see what I mean. If you kind of look at the top left here, see how every time I get a new stack it refreshes. And this also increases your healing received, and your skill healing, your amatoy healing, and your potion healing. So like, you can just see here how much I'm healing by when I have like full stacks of this. I get about 1,500 ticks sometimes, which is pretty good for Fountain of Life or whatever. But I just kind of wanted to show that off, and obviously like, all your other healings, even Da Vinci's Courage benefits from this. The increased skill healing. You see like 3,000 on Da Vinci's heal. So if you're getting hit a lot, you're going to be healing your party for quite a bit more as well. It's a really good ability, and I'm sure a lot of sword and shield users use that, but they're tanks, they're not really healers, so they don't really benefit from the party healing aspect of it. So just kind of a nice ability to have for sure as a melee healer. Kind of a rare one, I would say. And then after that, Devotion Emptiness, which increases your skill heal by 30% and decreases the cooldowns. Obviously, very good for any kind of healer build. Selfless Soul, another very good one. It grants health and regeneration every time that you use, or mana regeneration and increased healing every time you use any kind of heal. So basically, if you're using like Fountain of Life, right, you can see that the stacks will go up immediately off every tick. So it's just really good. Or if you like spam, Swift Heal or something, that will also increase the stacks very quickly. So it's a very good ability to have, in my opinion. And then I take Noble Revival, obviously, for just the additional skill heal, which for every 1,000 max mana you have, it increases your skill healing by %. And then lastly, have Vampiric Contract. Now getting into skill specialization here, talked about it a little bit, but I take Cruel Smite, which is the upgraded version of Valiant Brawl, basically turns into an AoE. I take the cooldown reduction for Stunning Blow and the increased damage. I take, obviously, the heal with Da Vinci's Courage, and then I take the charge with Death Blow. I turn Gaia Crush into Frost Cleaving, and I also take everything in the Guillotine Blade line here, which would be the charge, the cooldown reduction, and the AoE damage. For Wand, I simply take Radius Increase for Touch of Despair. As I was saying, if you're fighting a boss, you can very easily take this off and throw in the increased effect duration on Time for Punishment and still benefit from Vampiric Contract if you want to do that. But yeah, usually, like I said, I'm running around Touch of Despair just because for most content it's a little bit more efficient. You get more healing, obviously, with AoEs with it. For Swift Healing, I'm simply taking the consecutive use and the skill distance increased. For Blessed Barrier, I'm making it so it targets everybody. A combination that I like to use, I guess I'll kind of get into a little bit of rotations a little later, but I pretty much always use Blessed Barrier with Fountain of Life, and they have the exact same targeting scheme here, which is really nice. So it just makes it easy to like do this, right? That way you and your allies have increased defenses, and you're healing for a lot more with every tick. So it's kind of nice how that works. But yeah, so I take that, and then over here, Clay Salvation, I'll take the Weaken Removal. Apparently this is getting buffed eventually, where it's going to remove all weaken effects, which will be insane. But still, even removing one right now, it's really the only cleanse that we have. And some of those AoEs from the bosses and stuff can do quite a bit of damage, so it's really good to have. And I also take the Radius Increased. I take it on this, and I also take it on the Invincible Wall. and obviously on swift healing. Just because like a lot of time when people are taking damage, they'll kind of freak out and kind of run away from you. So it's good to have that extra range just in case people are a little bit further away from you than you'd expect. And then for Invincible Wall, again, targets expanded so it can target everybody. The increased range, I think, really it's worth it in my opinion. And it's a pretty small investment, 3 points for each, so I definitely recommend taking that. And then for Fountain of Life, I'm taking everything. The mana recovery, the increased radius, and the increased duration. Now for the gear, I'll just quickly go over this because I've gone over this in the previous video and I don't want this to take forever. But again, I kind of wanted to find gear that I think would work for every kind of archetype that I wanted to play as a Paladin, be it damage, tanking, or healing, and this is kind of what I landed on. Particularly, it's good because we have quite a bit of mana regeneration and mana efficiency. If I pull up this stat chart here, you can see 23.3 mana efficiency and the mana regen 729. So not bad. I literally really never run into mana problems healing anymore. So that's kind of nice. But for the stat spread, I have 50 strength, which gives me the extra 100 attack, or 100 heavy attack chance. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know, but obviously your heals can crit, they can heavy attack, so finding heavy attack chance for every can is very important. I also have 30 dex for the additional crit chance, 50 wisdom for a lot of cooldown reduction, and then at the 50 mark you get an additional 5%. So wisdom, very, very important as a healer, because some of these heals are quite lengthy cooldown-wise. And perception, I have 40, which gives me the increased buff duration and a little bit more hit chance. For the weapons, I'm using Loquaris' Tome with hit chance, crit chance, and heavy attack chance. Duke Magnus Fury Warblade. I'm going to change stun chance to hit chance eventually, but I have that, heavy attack, and crit. I'm using the 2-piece of the Swirling Essence hat, or Swirling set rather. Now, this isn't too important as a healer, but it's just something to point out. There's a lot of cooldown reduction and wisdom on this, which is really good as a healer. And you can kind of look at my traits here. I take the max health, cooldown speed, and melee endurance. I am going to endurance just because I'm not investing heavily into dexterity, so I just thought it'd be a little bit more of a better trait to go into. So yeah, you can see the traits here. Also have Supreme Devotion, crit chance, mana regen, cooldown speed, and then I wanted also still the 2-piece set of the Field General is still very good because we get 150 additional heavy attack chance, and obviously that will affect our big attacks like Guillotine Blade and Cruel Smile like that, and give us more healing with Vampire Contract, along with obviously a bit more damage. Also have the Ascendant Guardian Gloves, which has 10.8 mana efficiency on here and 6 perception. Swirling Essence Pants, Wisdom, Weaken Chance, mana efficiency. Sabatons of the Field Journal, and you can just again look at the traits here. You can kind of see what I'm going for. And after that, Clasp of the Conqueror, Strength Perception, max health, skill damage boost, buff duration. Bracers of the Primal King, Perception. Etched Alabaster Band's got some attack speed, some strength on it. Attack speed obviously is very important as well, just because there's quite a few abilities that we charge, be it Guillotine Blade or Clay Salvation. So having a little bit more attack speed is nice, and it helps you get those abilities out a little bit quicker. After that, I have Band of Universal Power. Now again, I mentioned this in another video. This was just a really, really lucky drop from a weekly. I do understand that most people won't be able to get this, especially if you're free to play like me. But I'm sure you can go on a builder and find out some kind of alternative to get relatively close to the stat spread. You probably won't be able to get like 40 perception, but if you can hit the 50 strength and the 50 wisdom, then I think you're in pretty good shape, as those are clearly the most important. And then after that, I have Girdle of Spectral Skulls, which gives me ranged defense, dexterity, and mana regen. Now, all this gear is pretty easy to get. Like, you can farm with tokens and abyss currency and everything, get all this, except for the pants and the belt, and obviously the Band of Universal Power. But these are relatively affordable in the auction house. I think right now, Swirling Essence pants are going for about 1,200 on average on my server, and the Girdle of Spectral Skulls is going for about 800 or 900 Lucent. But I got pretty lucky, and I was actually able to get this for about 500 Lucent. So I guess it just kind of depends on the time of day as well, So all this gear, not too hard to get, even if you are a free-to-play player. I guess after that, I definitely don't want to forget the Masteries this time, so I'll do that real quick. Simply going down the face-off route and grabbing the heavy attack chance. With any additional points that you have for the Greatsword, you can just kind of go wherever you want. I'm going to go up here and get this additional max health and cooldown speed. And, I don't know, maybe bind resistance, maybe mana regen. You know, not really sure. For the wand, though, go down here and grab the heavy attack chance. You actually don't want to go up here. This is because I usually play my DPS build. But you want to go down here and grab spiritual focus if you have additional points and get the mana cost efficiency, obviously, since we're healing. Now, with all this said, I guess I'll kind of talk about some of the rotations that I use, I guess. There's not really much rotations here because it's pretty, straightforward. You're healer, so you kind of have to play reactive depending on what's happening to your party. But there's a couple combos that I like to use. As I mentioned, Blessed Barrier and Fountain of Life. I pretty much use these together all the time just for the additional healing per tick. And you get the additional defenses, so you can, really help mitigate a lot of damage while your team is healing. I also will often, if our team takes a lot of damage from, say, a boss mechanic, I will usually use Da Vinci's Courage into Shield into Clay Salvation. So it'll look like this. And that will just basically make it so it gives me time to, heal up our team. Because a lot of time, like, people are scrambling when people are blowing up and everything, so it's kind of hard to see people. That's another reason why we take the increased radius on these skills, so we can pretty much hit everybody if there's, like, kind of an emergency. But usually if you do that, you have time to, like, look around and find people that still need swift healing. So it's just kind of a nice thing to do. As far as the actual, like, damage rotation, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, it's not anywhere near as complicated or strict as the DPS video that I made. Simply all you want to do is just make sure you have Touch of Despair on the enemies before you attack them. Usually I'll go like Touch of Despair, into Cruel Smite, into Frost Cleaving, into Stunning Blow, into Guillotine Blade, and then into Death Blow. That's kind of just the basic combo that I'll use. It's still good damage. Obviously we don't have the buffs that we do from the AoE DPS build that I posted earlier, but it's still good damage, and these are high damaging, and again, they heal for quite a bit. Even this being the case as not having the buffs and everything. So, but I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and if I forgot something, which I probably did, I will post the comments and talk about it then. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.